Hello friends of software entertainment. Today I will show you how I do Codeception acceptance tests for an e-commerce web project. In this video we will check product slider, a product overview and product detail view. So at first just let us run a single test. Vendor/bin concept run. Acceptance is a suite. Steps shows us the steps here on the terminal, and --HTML will generate a report for us. I just press enter. I come to my local page, scroll down and check here on the footer that I can see imprint, and I also will check that the href contains the string imprint. We can open with Google Chrome our report. And now we will see the same here on our report. I am on page, start page. I wait for element footer. I scroll to footer. I see imprint. I grab from attribute. I grab attribute from the link, the href, and assert that the link contains /impressum here on my link. So green test is okay. Now a short demonstration how it will look like when a test failed, so that you can see all the features of Codeception. We have here our test in our acceptance folder, navigation footer, and we will see here that we can just add a simple testify here, and now our test will fail. I put this a bit up later. Our test failed because we don't see impressum testify on the href here, and when we will check our report, the report will give me a screenshot of the actual page and also will give me the full HTML snapshot here, what I can open, and now I can see here my HTML, and this also will have an Ajax autocompletion here. So this is really cool to debug things on different environments, because I every time got a screenshot and my HTML to debug it here. Okay, let's fix the test. Back again. Now we are green. Time to check out the application. This is maybe one of the most unnecessary tests that ever has been written in software development history, because this is super static code in a Twig file. I just write in a Twig file that the imprint has to go to imprint. Here it is. But for today we want to do something on our articles. Let me introduce you this web page here. This is a new page with the Zulu CMS in combination with the article bundle to bring here used cars. These are the used cars here, and we have here 3 features on the page that we want to test today. The first is here an article slider. This is on the start page, and this article slider has here some features on it. We will see this later in detail. The next is the detail page. The detail page is actually not ready and finished, but we can test here a few things. And the third page, what I want to test and what is important for me, is the article overview, what is here. We have here our cars. I don't have implemented the search and filters here so far, but we can check the cars and the pagination. These are important features for me. And yeah, let's start with this. So back on start page, we will check here our slider. What is with the slider? The first thing is that the slider has items. I think this is a really simple test, and it will show that there are items here what are imported and what are displayed to my front end. Okay, I go to the terminal, and now I say vendor bin concept. When you just press enter, you have here the commands from Codeception, and you can say, okay, please generate a test in the acceptance suite, what is called slider. We have different sliders here, and then we have here our start page. I think it's article. And now we have a new file. This file I can open now with PHP Storm. Let me check this out here. Let's open the test here in PHP Storm. Here a little fix on the namespace. And then we have here our first test. What is actually a class where we have the full power of PHP that we want to use here. Here is a function that is made before every test. In this class, every public function is a test. You don't need to write here and test on the end or on the beginning. So we have here under support page our base PHP file. What is a page object from Codeception? And here are some properties like the URL. Here's our footer and our footer imprint link. It is much better to define our HTML markup in this file and then use our variables, because this is much better for reading for us developers. And you can change the markup. Maybe you can also reuse it on different projects. I think you will have a newsletter subscription or anything else that you can reuse your code. Okay, so now we just say here we have public static $start page, and now we have to check what it is. It's a slider track. I think this is done by JavaScript. But we have this vehicle slider, featured vehicle slider, and we have the items inside. Let me check our HTML markup for it. Slider article HTML. It's a snippet. So in the snippet we have here every time this vehicle slider active, and in this there are H2 vehicle slider items. This is the iteration here. So this is our slider item, and we want to test something on this item. Okay, so we say here public static start page is not right. It's on the start page, but it's just in slider article item what has as selector our class here. So at first we want to test if these elements are there. Okay, so we will inject this base thing here, and normally I write it as page. So this is just a convention for me, because I every time use this page here, so I can use different page objects like base, category page, or whatever, and I can maybe reduce the tests here because I just inject some other page object. For now, just realize that I say it's $page because this is a page that I am working on. $I where is it? Here, okay. am on page. Now I go to the start page, double point, URL, and now I will wait for our element. $page, double point, slider, article item. And yes, now I know that the page is loaded and I know that there are article items. Okay, the next thing is that I want to test here something on our item. So every item has an image, and title and price. When the car was the first time on the roads, how many kilometers it has, and the power of the motor. for now I just want to check here all elements and check in the first step if this image here has the page title on the alt tag. But here is something special because I cut here the title on a specific length, and I will also show the last word. This is a very cool feature implemented here with a custom twig extension. Maybe we can take a look on it later, but for now you can say that this alt tag is longer than the real title. So I have to check if the alt tag contains the title to check if this feature is working. So I have to think about the name here. I think the name can be validate slider items, because there will be a few things what I have to check. And on first I will get all the items. Here to a variable. I can use here the $I grab multiple and now I just also get here my item selector. And now there is a second variable where I can get more. And now there is a second parameter where I can get an attribute. But I don't need it for now because I want to show you how to work here from scratch. And the next thing what will happen is that we have a loop here for each dollar items as dollar item. Now we have here this German layout, what is a bit tricky. And for now we can say, okay, now this is an empty statement, but I can set here one breakpoint. When I want to use breakpoints from the command line, I have to do here something like export to set my Xdebug configuration here on my command line. This little snippet here is also on a gist. I will later do a link here on the video description. And so this is all what I have to do to make Xdebug run from my command line. And for now I go back to PHP Storm and say here I listen to Xdebug, and when I now run this here, so we just make the slider here, we can do an render bin run. We can use this full command here and then just go back to here and say just run the slider folder. You also can use here the test, and you also can check here a simple test to run, but for me now it's okay to run the slider test. So it will open and wait for the slider element, and then it will break here, and now I have here items. These are 45 items. This is a problem because we have to get a better deal on it here to get our title. Okay, but for now this was the first try, and we will see that our selector is not working. Okay, let's check out for a better selector. We want all the titles here on our elements. So let me check here the title. It's the heading 5. And we can say here, okay, please copy selector, and we will see that we get all these heading elements here. So we will add here a new selector, what is called public static $slider article headline. And now here we can just say, okay, please give me the selector. And now we see that our selector is not the best here. But we have the big deal that we can add here some properties to our HTML markup to make this more effective. So we have this problem here, and now we can say, okay, on the slider item we have here our heading, and you see here that there is a truncate word filter, but for now I just added data -cc for Codeception attribute here, and I can say this is my slider article headline, and I will just take this here, whoopa, wrong button. Okay, and we will see that we also are using here data.cc attribute. I just copy this here also, do it here, and now I can say, okay, this is maybe here our slider article headline, and now I have here a headline. I also have to remove this here from the copy paste, and maybe now I can get all the headlines. So headlines have now a new selector. It's a slider article. We have to build this new slider, whoopa, article headline here. And now we will see that we have here our headlines, and we can say as item, this is okay for me for now, but it's clearer to make it headline. And okay, Let's rerun the test. We have this breakpoint here so far. And I hope to get now all the headlines. Go back to PHP Storm and we have now headlines. And so after a little analyze here, I see that there is much JavaScript voodoo here on the slider, and you can say that there are 5 items loaded here on the viewport, the 4 you see here, and 1 more to the left, and the others have some duplication and sometimes they are empty. When you can see here on the console debugger, you see here a lot of items. We also need a selector for the image, and we can use this here also on the image, and we can say here this is the article image, and we can add this here to our base page object and say, okay, this article image here is now image, and then we can also get all of our images here on our test. So we can say we just duplicate this line here and say, okay, images, it's lower, and here images, and on the images we want to have the alt tag, the alt attribute. And now let us check here if this makes sense for us. Otherwise I have to break this video here, I think. It's late in the evening, it's live coding, and I want to show you how this work is and how this work feels and how this job is in real life. So 45. Here, this looks good for me, and I hope that I have image tags. All image tags are here, but now I can say, okay, number 3 is golf v2, and number 3 is golf for v2, or maybe 7, golf 7. I don't know so much about cars. So this is very good, because now we can say we can validate these 5 items here. Now we have these headlines, and we can say, okay, we also use the key here to see the right position. Okay, and now we can say $I assert contains the needle now is the headline, and the haystack is the $image. It's not the image, it's the images alt tags. Now I can say here it's $images alt tags, and can say, okay, $key here. And will this work? No, this will not work, because this is only handling when $headline if $headline is empty, then please continue here. So I can set up here a whole bunch of conditions what I can read very easy, and I don't have to do if-else cases where I have logic inside. I can just say when this is not the case, just continue. And okay, this will work, I hope. Let's run this here. Argument to passed asset contains must be iterable string given. Okay, this is wrong. Assert string contains string. Needle haystack. On the next pit fail for me, I will give you a virtual beer here. Okay, green. The problem now is that I see here asset string contains string golf, and when it will fail, I don't know exactly what slider failed here. So I can do the most little thing and can say here I have an option to add a message, and I say just can say here key is now our $key, and now we will have a key here. Okay, here is the key, and now I think we have our first test, because we can see that the title is actually the alt tag of the image in every item here on my slider. So we can just commit some stuff. Let us see here. We do some things. Maybe it's easier to see this here on PHP Storm. So on the base template, we add new selectors for the article, article slider. Maybe this is okay here on our base.php file, and we also add here some data queue attributes, I think, for our add the data queue attributes for our slider article HTML, and we add here and start page article test. Start page article test. So here we go. So let's make a little break and see what we've done here. We add a new test. Here it's our start page article test, and it's waiting for the page and for the element of the slider article item, and then we validate the slider items. For now, we only validate that our headlines are part of the alt tag on the images for our SEO-friendly page, and we iterate on this headlines, got a key here, and then we got a headline. There are very much elements what are not filled in the initial state of the page, and the slider and the JavaScript will make this later. So we have to skip this empty elements here, and we can say we do continue here because we can now handle here anything what is not working so good for us, and we have it clear on this part of the for each statement, so we don't have to do very much if and else statements down on our logical part. We just say when something is wrong here, please continue. This is very easy to read for us, and after that we can say, okay, here we have an asset string contains string for the headline, and we will check if this is part of the alt tag of the image. And for a better overview, we give this message here to our terminal that we can see what key has maybe problems here. So let's check what else we can check here on this item. Now we see here that there is a price and some properties. We can check these properties here if they are working. For now, we will see that here are a few elements that don't have any kilometers, and here are elements that have kilometers, and maybe this is a bit boring when we check this detailed stuff. So maybe it's more important to check if the link here is working, because we already have the title, and when we click here we can check that this title will be here on our headline. So let's think about to realize this test. I think this is a new test because we don't need to validate here slider items, but we do something similar because now we will get the hrefs. I don't want to work with a click element here to click the slider elements because we have the super dynamic JavaScript slider, and I think for me it's easier to get the hrefs of every item here. So we will validate now that the public function validate slider URLs are working and have the right titles. And yes, we also have here our acceptance tester. What we need is $i, and I also need our base page object for our $page thing. So we will get our hrefs. Let me check that are the tags around the image. We have here our image, and so we just add here a new data.cc with slider article a tag. And now we can grab the href as attribute from it, because now we have here this image, and maybe it's above the image, so we say here we have an A tag and here is an A tag. Now we will go back to our test and say, okay, please, $I. This page is now already loaded because our before will run before every public function or every test here. We have here also a setting that it will not reload every time the browser. This is a default setting. We can also say we want to reload the browser every time and we want to clear all cookies and all the stuff. But for now, I want this Google Chrome session to be permanent open. This is a bit faster for me. And I have to grab now $I grab multiple $page, double point, and we have this A tag here, and from this A tag we want to get the href. And we also want to get the images alt tags, like here, because this is a full page title and not the shortest page title from the slider headline. And now we will check what will happen here, because we have to iterate through the hrefs. $I, or just an for each with key statements. For each with key, I don't use it so often, sorry for that. href as index is key for me, and as href, and now we just $I am on URL $href, and I have to wait for something what is called here the headline. Copy selector. Now we have a new selector. I think here on this little project we can handle all our stuff here in our base page object. Public static $slider. It's not slider, it's article detail headline. Let me check, this is not the best selector here. We also add a better selector. So let's open the template from it. So let's check our template here for our article default, and we have this little headline here. What is H4? H4, whoopa, wrong window here. H4, we have this title here, and we make an DataCC attribute, what we call title. So we have this title here now, and now we go back to our base page object and say, okay, please remove this horrible stuff and add here something we can read and understand as title. And this makes the tests much better. So now we have this here. And we go to our test and say, okay, $I wait for element for our $page point double points detail headline and an O. We say that's the detail headline. Grab text from $page double point $article detail headline is the same than on our images alt text. So we can say here that $I assert same expected and actual. Expected is our $images alt tag with our $key, and we have here our headline, and we can say, okay, please give me here, we will see the href and we will have much information, but maybe we also want to see here our key. Okay, now it's time to run a specific test here. We copy this name here and we can say here, okay, just please run here on our slider test. And we have here our test name, and just do it like this, and then it only will run this specific test. Okay, let us commit here something fast. We make something on the tick template, and we make something on the tests here. Also, I fixed something on the importer because there were some spaces and some tricky issues here, what I don't want to show you because this was really unnecessary stuff. And I say just commit actual state for YouTube video here for now, because now we can say, hey, everything for the start page slider works for me. We checked an attribute and we check the full functionality if we can click it, and you can say when there are no items loaded so far. And this is a bit a trick here. What will happen when there will be no items? It can be when the full import fails, there will be no items here. So for me, I just remove this because it's when there are no articles, we don't have the fallback that we say, hey, please come back later. We have here some nice cars. And now we will just remove this here and we will run all our slide tests. And And this can be that this is a little problem. Let us check it out. I think this is working because the first test is waiting for things that have to be loaded, and it say, okay, I ran a timeout, and this was also the last thing what we have to prove here, that this will work when there are no articles. For now, the slider testing for me is okay, and it works for me. Also, it's a bit faster. Good. So the overview page is here, and what we want to check here is one thing is the paging, and I think this is the last thing for this video tutorial, because I spent here a lot of time this evening to fix some unnecessary and super annoying things. I want to check if this car here has another title on page 2. Okay, so it could be that it's the same here. We can check the titles. If there are something similar, we have this Passat variant, and we have this Passat variant, but maybe we can say we don't have the same price. Otherwise, I had to add here the article ID, what I also can do on a hidden field, I think. Maybe this is easier for me because we need also this article ID maybe later. So let's go super fast to our article overview and add here some hidden fields. This is a paging. It's under the paging articles here for articles item data. We have here some title, new, and we can say, okay, just add here a hidden field. We got here input and its type hidden. I will say it's got this data article ID, and the value is now our data dot article ID. I hope I write it like this. We will check if this works. So now we have here our article ID with the right value, and now this is definitely unique ID for me. So we will add a new test here for our overview. Member bin code set generate test acceptance, and it's the article, and maybe we have here detailed overview, and so I can say here it's overview test. Now it's generated, and we have here now our article overview test, and we have here the same procedure as every time. We get here our base as $page property. And when we go to this, we have here some article overview, public static $article overview URL. I think it's just Gebrauchtwagen. But let me confirm this. Gebrauchtwagen, okay. And we have here this public static article overview article IDs. And now we have here our new selector, what is just article ID, I think. It's just article ID here. Okay. Now we can get all these article IDs of the first page. $I am on page page double point. This is article overview URL. $I wait for element. We just have this article ID here. Page double point. I hope it can, Codeception can wait for a hidden element. I don't know it exactly, but it's here the article IDs. And I want to test that first article ID. Let me show you later the full HTML report, because this name will be transformed to a readable sense. So first article ID is different to page 2. We can also do some clicking here on the navigation. I can say here it's my actual ID, first page ID, first page ID is here now $I grep. I think it was value from $page. I need to add it here. The page. Now it's $page double point. This was the article IDs. This is right here, and now I have the value, and I want grep value from will not work on multiple items, so I have to grep multiple, and I hope that I can grep here also value. We will see if this works, and this will also be number 1. So with a bit of luck, this will be our first page ID. So now I have to go to the second page. I can do this on the URL. You see there's just a parameter page 2 here on this part, but I can also say, hey, please let me click this link here. I hope this selector is as easy as I think now. So we can say on our dollar overview, article overview, there will be a page navigation seconds item, and maybe this will work. Not this is so bad, but we can give here the URL and ID. This is hard. This is hard. What's wrong here? Okay, we add also an ID here and say this will be just, I don't know how to write it. It's UL and then I make an ID, but button ID is unique, so I just make here some top page navigation top. Okay, I have to add it to the front end also. It's super important to make clear selectors. We have here now our page numbers, and we say, okay, give me an ID with page navigation top. Okay, so now I can say click page double point. We have here now this second item to click. Then I also have to wait for this here. And after that, I can say, okay, give me the same thing here as the second page ID. I'm super optimistic this will work. And now I can say not same. I think it's not same. Expected is a dollar first. We have to validate that this are IDs. I think to make this more working, but for now we can say, okay, we have this article acceptance test. It's just overview. We can run acceptance slider. Let me go back, maybe it's 6 times. Okay. Article, and now it's opening. We will see. Wow, this was great, and I can also say that this works, because you can see here it's 1342228 is different to 1269946. We can say here We are on page 1 and think I don't already have reloaded it to check here. This is a page number or part. We have here this 1, 3, 4, 2, 2, 2, 8, and on page 2 we have here 1, 2, 6, 9, 4, 6, and this is working perfect. So we also checked here our navigation. Let's commit this stuff. Make first test for article overview, and maybe we can add this name here, or what we have. Make first test for article overview. Okay, this looks good for me. So for now, let's run all the tests, because this makes a bit of fun here. Let me check what we have to remove. Just the article thing. Maybe it's 4B. I don't. I just have to go to the VI mode. Maybe it's 4B. B. Okay. And then I delete the words, and now all my tests will run. And I will see the steps here on my terminal, and this is a page navigation test. So we have here 18 seconds and have 2 really good tests here. Let's check it here. We have, wow, we have 4 tests here. There's a footer test. Actually not the most spectacular test, but this test is better than nothing tested, and it also will find if your start page is loading, and so maybe this is some kind of the simplest test that will work. We have the validate slider URLs are working and have right titles. Now you see why I'm using this very long method names, because it's something not Gherkin like, but anybody who reads this hopefully will understand this. And here we see what happens. And now we have here also the validate of the slider items. This is that we have to check just now only the alt tag, but in future we will do here more things. And on the overview test we will also check that the first article ID is different to page 2. Maybe you can make a long sense here, but I'm on the Gebrauchtwagen, check the article ID, and later I have this here. So thank you for this video. Now you can start testing your web pages with Codeceptions. You see here on this video how to get out of trouble and how to avoid trouble, make good selectors and a good loading time for your tests, and then they will bring you a lot of fun and healthy to your work and your life. And please follow this channel here, check out the descriptions, and stay green. Thank you.